Hello shooters, this is George from Tombstone Tactical with another video in our web series about firearms. Today we're going to be talking about shotguns and the differences between the different manufacturers. I have Mossbergs and I have Remingtons. And we're going to talk about how the design of each impacts their ergonomics and their usage. Alright, keep in mind folks that everything that we say here is current as of today. In the future, everything could change. You know, they could change the whole design, the internals, everything that we talk about today is subject to change. So hang in there, it's going to get it, pretty informative. Okay, we're going to talk about the different Mossbergs and the different Remingtons that I have in front of me today. We'll talk about the 535 first because this is the only one that's here. It's used for hunting or even skeet shooting. And if you look, you can see the size of the chamber. This is used for 3.5-inch shells, whereas all the rest of them that we have here, you're going to be using up to 3-inch shells, mostly 2 3/4-inch shells. And you can see it's got a vented rib on the barrel to help keep it cool. It doesn't have anything but brass beads for sights. And like I said, it's mostly used for hunting waterfowl. Alright, the rest of the shotguns I have here, the Mossbergs and the Remingtons, they're all typically used for home defense. They've got a shorter barrel, 18 to 20-inch range, which is still legal. We'll talk about the 500 that I have here. As you can see, it's only got an 18-inch barrel, and the chamber is smaller, like I said, 2 3/4-inch shells. And it's got a plastic stock, plastic foregrip. It doesn't look at all like the wooden one I just had in my hand. And that's the 500. Here we have a 590. You can see this is what they would call tactical. It's got ghost ring sights on it. It's got Picatinny rails on the slide. You can throw all kinds of lights and lasers and whatnot to get it all decked out, and you can start wearing your vest and your body armor and everything else when you're doing that one. And here is the 590 A1. It's not laid out like the 590, but you can see it's still, we got an 18-inch barrel here, and this one will be good for home defense. Okay, another thing we want to talk about is the barrel thickness on the 590 A1. 590 A1, this barrel was designed for the Navy, with the Navy in mind. The barrel is a lot thicker than any of the than the regular 590 or any of the 500 series. It also absorbs heat. Okay, it will take a lot longer for this barrel to get hot, and then inversely, it also take a lot longer for it to cool down. Another thing, remember, the 590 also has a metal trigger guard, the 590 A1. Okay, the two Remingtons that I have in front of me here. This is the 870 Express, and you can see it's got the magazine, goes all the way down, carries extra rounds in the magazine. It's also got an 18-inch barrel, and this one will take up to 3-inch shells. You can tell by looking at the chamber. It's a nice looking little shotgun. And then finally, over here on the Remington side, we have the Police Special, the 870 Police Special. The magazine isn't as long as on the other one, but still we got the short chamber for up to 3-inch cartridges. Okay, the two that I don't have in front of me are the 870 Wingmaster and the 870 Super Magnum. Those are typically hunting shotguns like the 535 Mossberg that we have here. Okay, another thing we want to talk about is the different safeties between the Mossberg and the Remington. On the Mossberg, like on the 500 here, you have a tang-mounted safety. Right now, I can do that, and it's ambidextrous. Whether you're right-handed or left-handed, you can hit this with your thumb, forward to fire, back for safe. Now on the Remington, you have a cross safety here, which is, you can do with your finger, but if you're ambidextrous, it's going to be difficult. Okay, reach it with your finger, hit your trigger, hit with your thumb to set it. Like I said, if you're left-handed, it's going to be a lot more difficult. Okay, another difference between the two manufacturers is the action release. On the Mossberg, like on the 500 here, you got a little lever right here, just behind the trigger. You press that if you want to slide it. It won't move unless you pull that lever. Okay. Now on the Remington is a little bit more awkward. It is forward of the trigger guard, right there. See? A little bit more awkward than the Mossberg, which you can do relatively easy. Okay, one thing we want to mention is the placement of the trigger group. This is a Mossberg. I don't know if you can see it. You can see the gap here between the rear receiver, and that's because the action release lever. Okay, that's where Mossberg has it. You know, in my opinion, that's a lot better placement of it. Whereas on the Remington, you can see the trigger group is farther back on the receiver. You know, some people prefer it. Me, you know, 6 of one, half dozen the other, but I just prefer the way the Mossberg action release is placed as opposed to the Remington. It means the Remington can set their trigger back a little further. Some people prefer it that way. Again, it's personal preference. Okay, what I want to mention is all the shotguns I have in front of me, they all have polymer trigger guards, except for the Mossberg A1. This has a metal trigger guard. Some people would prefer that, and if that's what your preference is, the 590 A1 is the shotgun you need. Okay folks, another thing that we want to talk about is the receiver material between the Mossberg and the Remington. The Mossbergs have an aluminum receiver. This basically this relates to a lighter shotgun, but there are different finishes you can't use on aluminum. Now, typically Mossberg has an anodized aluminum, and it usually matches the blue barrel, so it it makes it for a fine-looking shotgun. Remington, on the other hand, they have it'll be a little heavier because it's a steel receiver, and they can finish it like this one here. They can finish it in the barrel, and it just looks like one continuous piece. And it's, you know, again, this is a fine looking weapon, but it's going to be a little bit heavier. And again, the choice is yours. Don't let anything I say, you know, sway you in your decision. Pick up both shotguns and try them out. Feel the heft, look down the barrel, check the barrel out, check the magazine out, make sure it's what you want. Okay, aluminum's not going to rust. Okay, now your steel, of course, you know, it's going to wear, and it could get rusty if you're in, you know, say near salt water, or you know, any wet area, winter, spring, fall, when it's going to have heavy rains. Here in Arizona, when you have the monsoon season, it rains pretty heavy, unless you have a marine coat on it. Marine coat on the shotgun. They do that specifically for ones, you know, shotguns that you're going to take in your boat. You're going shark fishing or something, and you just need to do the shark in before you land them in your boat. Okay, one of the things we want to talk about is this aluminum receiver on the Mossberg. People have a tendency to get a little upset because it's an aluminum receiver. However, all the combustion happens steel on steel. When you slide this forward, it locks in place, and no combustion happens whatsoever inside the aluminum receiver. It is all steel on steel, so there's nothing to worry about. Okay, one of the things we're going to talk about here is the shell lifter differences between the Mossberg and the Remington. Okay, I got 500 here. I don't know if you can see the shell lifter here. Now when you're loading up Mossberg, you load your first one in there, then you can load your magazine up. You can see the lifter went all the way up inside. Start putting your rounds in, fill in your magazine. Okay. On the Remington's a different animal. You put your shell in there, as you can see, the lifter stays down, so you have to press it to put your shells in. And if you're not aware, you can get your thumb or your finger caught and get it pinched by this shell lifter. Okay, so Remington is going to be a little bit more difficult to load. Okay, we want to talk about the ejectors here, Remington versus Mossberg. If you can see, there's a rivet here on the ejector. Okay, if you get a broken ejector on a Remington, you're going to have to pay a visit to a gunsmith to get a new one riveted in for you. On the Mossberg, they're screwed in. You can do it. You can do it yourself. If you break that ejector, you can just go online, Midway or Brownells, and get a new one, and just unscrew this and screw in a new one. Okay, on the Remington, this is the Remington 870 Police. We have one extractor, and this is a milled extractor. And on the 870 Express line, oh yeah, also on the Wingmaster and the Police, they both have the milled, which is a high quality extractor. On the 870 Express, you have an injection molded extractor, and you only have one of them. On the Mossberg, you have dual extractors. You have redundancy built in, so if you have one extractor break, you're going to have a second one to pick up the slack. Okay, we're going to talk about magazine tubes on your shotguns. Okay, the Mossberg 500 and the 535, basically they come with magazine tubes. The way they're designed, they cannot be extended. These magazine tubes, the way they attach, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a blockage here, right here, where it fastens to the barrel. Now, that means that you just can't get an extension. This will turn. I can remove this, and I can remove the barrel. And you can see the way the barrel attaches. You can see that screw. It goes in a hole here, and that means you just cannot put it. It's just blocked. You can't put any more rounds in there. And by the way, this 535 hunting shotgun, when I bought it, it came with a dowel in the magazine to block anything more than 2 rounds going into the magazine. So you got to be aware of your hunting regulations in your state. Here I didn't need it, so I took the dowel out so I can put in 5 rounds in the magazine. Now the 590, that is not restricted. It's got the tube goes through this particular piece that attaches to the barrel. Okay. Some 590s will come with a shorter magazine, and you can get the longer magazine and put it in at your convenience. Remingtons, they're the same way as those Mossbergs. The 590s, they attach through a big round connection here that holds it to the magazine. And if you got a shorter magazine with your shotgun, you can always buy an extended version. Okay, we want to talk about shot shell length. Shot shell length, these are all 2 3/4 inch shells. The length of the shell is measured from top to bottom. This is a spent hull, and this is actually 2 3/4 inches long. As you can see, after you crimp it, it's going to be shorter than 2 3/4. These are both 2 3/4 inch shells. They are both buckshot, double-aught buckshot. And you can see there's a difference in the size. It just depends on where the manufacturer puts the crimp. Okay, this is a 2 3/4 inch shell also. This is a slug. This one here, that used to be bird shot in there. I believe it was number 7, and it carried about 1 1/4 ounce, 1 7/8 ounces of shot shell. You can look at these two and you can see they were crimped at approximately the same height. Okay, again, these are all 2 3/4 inch shells. Now the capacity of a magazine in a shotgun, they will tell you that the shotgun will take 2 3/4 inch shells, or it will take 3-inch shells. So, you know, it's not going to take the same capacity between a 2 3/4 or a 3-inch. You're going to have less 3-inch shells than you are 2 3/4. I would say if it says it's going to hold 5 rounds of 2 3/4, it'll probably hold 4 rounds of 3-inch. If you buy a shotgun for hunting or for trap or skeet shooting, do your research. You're going to need a choke, and it's all going to depend on what kind of shooting you're going to do. Okay, you're going to have different modifications for the choke and different size bird shot, number 7, number 8. Do your research. Figure out which one you're going to need. There are several books available that will tell you exactly what kind of choke is acceptable for different types of shooting. Okay, folks, another shotgun that I didn't really mention was my just in case. Okay, you can see I got a side saddle, carry 6 extra shells, 5 in the tube, 1 in the chamber. I keep this one beside my bed. It's nice, it's compact, and boom, anybody pays me a midnight visit, they're going to be sorry. Okay, folks, that's it for today's comparison between Remington and Mossberg shotguns. I hope this was informative. And if you have any recommendations for future videos, please send us an email to sales@tombstonetactical.com, attention video, and we'll take it under advisement for future episodes. I think that'll be it for today. Thank you and have a good day.